So let's sit tall and close the eyes. Rest the hands in the lap. Let the elbows hang freely from the shoulders. Let the spine be tall. Allow the head to be balanced between the shoulders. As you breathe in, follow the breath in through the nostrils, down to the lungs, and out to the periphery of the body. And as you breathe out, the breath draws from the periphery to the center, to the lungs, and then out through the nostrils. And just following the breath, each breath, to whatever extent you can follow it. Notice how every breath is just a little different. No two are the exact same. One begins smoothly and ends abruptly. Another begins abruptly and ends smoothly. And every other one is somewhere in between. Have an appreciation for that diversity, for the changeability of the breath. As you breathe in, know that you're receiving very special gifts. The gift of aliveness, the gift of presence and awareness, all the gifts of the breath. And as you breathe out, let it be an expression of gratitude for those gifts. Grateful for this embodiment in all of its diversity, all of its changeability, all of it. And then on your next exhalation, draw the hands together in front of the heart. And together we'll lift our voices in one Om, followed by the invocation mantras, taking a breath in. Om. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. Ganana antva ganapati gum havamahe kavin kavinam upamashravastamam jesta rajam brahmanan brahmanaspata anashrinvanuti bisida sadanam mahaganapataye namaha. Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhir Vajinivati Dhinama Vitriyavatu Ano Devo Brahataf Parvatada Saraswati Ajata Kantu Yagnyam Havan Devi Jujushana Gritachi Shagman Novacha Mushati Shrinotu Vagdevyai Namaha. And gently release the hands down and flutter the eyes open. So today I'm going to start off with a story. You might have heard this story before, I'm not sure. But in and around 1999, I started having episodes that were not entirely new to me, but which were different in their intensity. I would be in Whole Foods, walking down the frozen aisle, and I would all of a sudden be like, where am I? And I would be sitting in my car in front of my house, and I wouldn't be sure which house was mine. I would walk into walls. I would have headaches, amazing headaches. I wouldn't be able to talk. I would be sitting at my job and I would be starting to have one of these episodes where it felt like a great fog was coming, and all of a sudden I would go from being able to speak very clearly to nothing. My husband was aware of what was happening at the time, and so we had a thing where if I was away at work or on the road and this started to happen, I would call him and somehow make a noise into the phone so he would know it was me, and then he would talk me through it. Because it didn't last very long. It lasted anywhere from a minute, maybe, to half an hour. And then it passed. So I started to go to the doctors, asking my primary care person, like, what's going on with me? Nothing. You're healthy as a horse. And I'm not buying that. Healthy horses don't walk into walls. Healthy horses don't lose the ability to speak. It's emotional. It's emotional. You're at that age. It's emotional. Okay, great. So I go and I talk to somebody and I'm like, is this emotional? And they're like, no, that's something else. That's got to be like neurological. Okay, great. So I go to a neurologist, 2 actually, or maybe 3. I go to a cardiologist because at the same time I'm having like these massive palpitations, which I have a congenital issue in my heart anyway, but this is like I'm sitting at work and my heart is going brrrr, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm just going to chant, and if I drop, what am I going to do? I'll just try to drop in the best possible mindset. Cardiologist is like, we need to do emergency surgery to change out your aorta. Do you want a pig aorta or a bovine aorta? And I'm like, I don't want any aorta. Whoa, slow down. He wanted to have me on the table that after. He was like, you got to go to the hospital now. And I'm like, whoa. I go to the neurologist. The first neurologist tells me, it's all in your head. Well, he didn't even look at my file. I had an immense emotional reaction. I go to the second neurologist, and I walked into her office and I said, I don't want to hear it's all in my head. I don't want to hear that there's nothing anybody can do. I don't want to hear that I'm just stressed. I don't want to hear it's because I'm a woman. And she goes, well, I don't really know why you're here, though, because I'm an epilepsy specialist, and you obviously don't have epilepsy. She goes, you don't have any of the signs of epilepsy. But you know what? Let's just put you on the table anyway. And just to rule it out for sure. So she hooks me up to all the things. She puts me on the table and she starts flashing light in my eyes. She steps back and she says, holy shit. And I looked at her and I said, am I dying? She goes, no. She said, but I would have never thought you had epilepsy. And you do. You don't have grand mal, you have petit mal. Petit mal seizures, something's triggering you. And when that something triggers you, you enter into a different realm, basically. She's like, it's like people would probably think you're just being obtuse or rude, but you literally can't respond. You just get blank. And I was like crying because thank you for not telling me I'm crazy. Thank you for not blaming it on the fact that I'm a woman. Thank you for not blaming menopause. Thank you for all of this. And for not demeaning me in the meantime, and for acknowledging your mistake, because when I walked into this office, you did not recognize that there could really be something wrong. So thank you for accepting your mistake and the responsibility for that. So she went on this, but now we have to find out why. Like, what is the trigger? What is happening here? So your journey through the doctors and specialists isn't over yet. So we went to a few more. And the one doctor said, well, it may be petit mal seizures, but the bigger picture of this is the issue with the heart and this idea that I was having mini strokes. And so they literally told my husband, prepare yourself, because at any moment she could die. Then I went to Dr. Straight, who's a Lyme's disease specialist. Ticked every single box on his list of symptoms. Sends out the blood work, comes back at that point in time in early 2000, and this is after 3 surgeries. I did not have the heart surgery, but this is after 3 surgeries, after being relegated to wearing a heart halter for like 3 months, all these other things. Comes back, I have the highest titer for Lyme's disease with a co-infection of ehrlichiosis that they had seen to date. So I'm like patient X in a book somewhere. So he puts me on a regimen of antibiotic therapy. And pretty quickly, I start feeling a bit better. Pretty quickly. But it was a 5-year regimen. Like, I was on antibiotics for 5 years straight. Because every time I would get triggered by something, fluorescent lights or something else, and the symptoms would come back. So here I am. I have a diagnosis of petamol. I have a diagnosis of Lyme's disease with a co-infection of ehrlichiosis. I have a diagnosis of a severe heart condition, which has since mostly resolved on its own, no less. Or I should say, with vast amounts of CoQ10. Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of CoQ10. And a few other things. And I'm totally disconnected to myself. Totally disconnected. I'm like, having a traumatic history in life, acquiring at some point control over my life to some degree, and then losing that control again. It felt like life betrayed me again. My body betrayed me again. And I was feeling really disconnected. Now, mind you, I practiced yoga ever since I was a teenager, so yoga was not something different or out of the norm for me. But in that moment in time, I was not able to practice physically because I couldn't breathe and because my heart was just so chaotic. I could still meditate. I could still do some of the subtler practices. But in the midst of everything that was going on, it was harder and harder and harder. So there's 2 reasons why I'm sharing this story with you, a story that some of you have heard before. The first reason is this. When I was diagnosed with petit mal seizures, the second thing that the doctor said to me, the first was that she was sorry. The second thing she said to me was, you're going to have to forfeit your driver's license for a while. And I was like, nope, I don't have petit mal seizures, not going to do it, can't do it. That's the only thing I have left that like, I go for drives for myself to get away, to just clear my head. You cannot take my driver's license from me. I went home, I sat with it, I meditated on it. I thought to myself, who am I if I'm not able to take my sunny day drives or my stormy day drives, my drive? What else will I have? Music blasting, radio, windows down. It's such a comfort. So I sat with it and I was like, you're reacting. Just sit with it for a while. Just sit with it. She's not saying permanently. She's saying for a period of time so that the medicine can work that they're going to put you on. So I sat with it. And there was one phrase that kept coming up for me. And the phrase that kept coming to the front of my mind was, psst, it's just another way to experience life. Shut up. It's just another way to experience life. I don't want to. It's just another way to experience life. It's just another way to experience life. The second reason why I'm sharing this story with you is because in that short period of time from like October of 1999 and really through quite a bit of 2020, in that year and a half, 3 surgeries, 14,000 diagnoses, medications, not being able to drive, not knowing if I was going to die, not knowing what was going on, finding out that it's Lyme's disease based and that all of these other problems were kind of coming from that. So the heart was amplified because of the Lyme's disease. The seizures came because there was an underlying propensity, but it came to realization because of the Lyme's disease, that the Lyme's disease caused all of this. And that in that year and a half, I went through so many changes. Changes in my body, changes in my mind, changes in my abilities, changes. So many changes. And I found myself in a yoga teacher training program when I couldn't even walk up a set of stairs, but I'm going to go to a Power of Vinyasa yoga teacher training program and do that in 6 weeks. Yeah, let's do that. It was great. Absolutely wonderful. The program was physically oriented. It was not where I would typically have found myself. I had never even gone to that yoga studio before. I had no idea who the teacher was. I did it on a whim, because my husband said to me, honey, the one thing that you're not doing is practicing the yoga. And I looked at him and I said, I can't walk up 2 steps of stairs without having to stop and inhaler and breathe. And how am I supposed to do a sun salutation? And he said, so wisely, aren't you the one who always told me yoga's not about the posture? And I said, shut up. And then in my little huff of poutiness, I got in my car to go to the post office, pulled into the post office, and right in front of me across the street from the post office are these window signs from the ceiling to the floor. Summer intensive, 200 YTT, stop in. And I called him and I said, Ed, I don't know these people. I've never been to this studio. Is it crazy? And he goes, just go. Just introduce yourself and tell them you're a lifetime practitioner. They're not going to turn you away. Write them a check. And I was like, do I want to do a yoga teacher training in a place that wouldn't turn me away because they don't know me? And he goes, honey, that's not the point. He said, the point is you need this. So do this for yourself. And I was like, but what if I fail? He goes, there's no failing in yoga. Don't you always tell me that? I know you think I don't listen, but I hear you. And I'm like, bye. So I walked in, I introduced myself, and I said, I know you don't know me, but I've been practicing yoga for a long, long time. And this is my situation, and this is why I want to take your training. And I'm not interested in teaching. I just need to reconnect with myself. And the person said, you can make your payment? And I just went, yeah. And I just told myself, this is not because I want to be a teacher. This is like a membership to an intensive program that's going to support me. So I did it. Not even 2 weeks in. Was starting to feel so much stronger, so much more connected, so much more. I went home one day to my husband and I said, because in the midst of all this, I'm in graduate school, by the way, going for my PhD in archaeology and biological anthropology and, becoming an osteological specialist, whatever that means. And I said, I found what I want to do and how I want to serve. I think I'm going to leave graduate school. And we sat down and we had a conversation and he was like, get the PhD, honey. He said, the PhD is going to open doors because of what you want to do with the yoga. He said, so finish the PhD. And I did. But I also went headstrong right into yoga therapy, like what these practices can do for people. The changes that I saw myself go through over a year and a half, and then what I saw, the further changes, how yoga helped me to reintegrate into my own body, into my mind, into my conditions, into my situation. Just more changes, And then you think you got it, right? Then you're like, okay, got all the diagnoses, whatever they mean, took the medication, did its job, I can drive again, yay! It's just another way of experiencing life. Reintegration, just another way of experiencing life. I've got it. I feel strong. I feel good. I feel wonderful. Husband's diagnosed with cancer. We lose our house because of medical bills. All these things happen. Like, son of a... It's just another way to experience life. It's just another way to experience life. It's not rose-colored glasses. It's not spiritual bypassing. There's freaking work to be done. But the base of it is just another way to experience life if you're open to the experience of life. Okay, 5 years. Take care of my husband. Through surgeries and hospitalizations and chemotherapy and moving from a house to a one-bedroom apartment, which was really a gift. Like, most people would look at that and they would ask, they'd say, like, don't you miss having your own house? I'm like, no. Light bulb goes out. Hey, light bulb's out. Can you come change it? No, nobody has to mow the lawn. Not me anyway. You know, he doesn't have to mow the lawn. We can take the time we need because we don't have to worry about other stressors to focus on what he needs. And I'm focusing on my yoga school and all of the things that I'm bringing forward through that school and the yoga therapy and the service and the being compelled to develop an ashram. You know, and then we come to the ashram and we're like, we got this, babe. We got this, you know. Like, he's doing great with his chemotherapy and I'm feeling really super healthy. Some stressed, my husband's got cancer, but in life in general, I'm feeling good. And the ashram is being developed and dreams are coming true and things are happening and it's good. And then the chemotherapy stops working. And we're kind of financially at zero. We took everything we had and we just put it in here and we didn't have anything. And just another way to experience life. It's a heartbreaking way. It's a grieving way. It's a way of worry, and it's a way, but it's also a way of faith. It's also a way of faith. And my husband was like, honey, this is your dream. I know. He said, but I don't want to die and have you have nothing. He said, you have the building, but what else? And I said, honey, I've got my practice. I've got the love that we share. I've got this beautiful community in New Jersey that we built and the community here that we're building. I said, have faith. It's all going to work. It's going to be okay. It really, really is. And lo and behold, I met somebody. They took a yoga class with me. And this amazing human being came forward and said, what you're doing here is a little crazy, but really amazing. What do you need? And I'm thinking like, well, our vacuum just crapped out. So could definitely use a vacuum, if, you know. And he said, with a smile, that's not what I mean. And I'm thinking, okay. Well, there's some things that we need to do, you know, like I got to get a working oven in the kitchen and things. And it's like, okay, great. Do you have a list? Could you give me a list? And at the beginning of that list, could you tell me what you would like to accomplish in 5 years? And I looked at the person and I said, I can do that. So I gave him a list. I gave them a list that was a little on the conservative side, but it was bold for me because I'm not one to say I'm not one to ask for a donation. I'm not one to ask for money. I'm not one to ask for these things, you know. But I said, look, this person is asking for a reason. So here's the first list. Here's the intention. Here's the first list. This list can be followed by another list. Totally. The organization that this person was part of fulfilled the list. It was a pretty hefty list. That auditorium that we practice yoga in, that back wall was a water feature when we first got here. Every time it rained. You ever go into the place that has like the water feature wall? That was that. You remember that, right? Yeah. It'd be like, new roof, and many, many other things. And then about a year later came back and said, what's your second list? So here we are again, in the midst of change. Big change. Lots of change. Change in my personal life with my husband being on hospice now. Change in my spiritual life as I'm contemplating my next steps forward. As we're growing this ashram and we're inviting more and more of the people, the students in, and more people are getting involved, and change. As the building is changing, as the things that are needing to happen. You know, the mandirs, this was the last room, right? There was a sign on that door that said, please don't enter. I'm in the midst of my personal transformation. I don't quite know who I am yet, or something like that. And we only use this room during festivals for overflow. And then all of a sudden it's like this altar manifests, you know. I had a thought, I had an idea. I was like, stained glass altar, beautiful lotus flowers, Saraswati. And the people came forward to do it. And every time that something has been thought, somebody's come forward to support it. Change. The change is life. So in 2018, my husband passed away. In 2019, I took his ashes to India. I took my vows. I became an ordained monk. Many people didn't understand. A few people got mad at me. They said, that's not what I expected of you. And I said, but it's just change. None of it is permanent. None of it is permanent. It's all simply another way to experience life. Through the love, through the sorrow, through the joy, through the grief, through the health, through the illness, through the not having hot water or heat and a wall that is an unintentional water feature, to having a new roof and a beautiful space of offering for the Divine Mother, to not having any trees on the property, to having 400 trees on the property, from being 6.5 acres to now being 25 acres, to having one volunteer stop by because they saw a big wooden Om in the window, to having all these beautiful volunteers and students. That's all change. It's nothing to be afraid of. It is something to be thoughtful of, to prepare yourself as best you can for, and to be honest and humble to. It's not spiritual bypassing to say it's simply another way to experience life. It's actually a truthful statement that all these things can happen, and I can either become so full of it because of them, or so emptied and destroyed by it that I can become numb to life, or I can just be so awed by all of it that it invites me deeper into the experience of it. So where are you in your life? How is change manifesting for you in comfortable and uncomfortable ways, because it doesn't happen just one way. It's like, for all the blessings, there is all the other stuff that you would like to do without. For every sense of feeling healthy and put together, there's a moment of being completely destroyed. For every hope and dream and aspiration, there's a crushing defeat. It's always 2 by 2. It's never 1 by 1. It's never a solitary experience. It's always change. Always. And we are always bearing witness to that. So today, last couple of days, the weather's been wonky. It's been playing with me a little bit. It's not that I don't have seizures anymore. I just don't call them seizures. I understand that medically speaking, somebody may think that that's what they are. But to me, they're just part of the change that I go through. There are some moments where that physiological, neurological change just says to me, you need to sit quietly for a little while. So go do it. You need to not be overwhelming yourself with a bunch of little details right now. They'll still be there later. You need extra sleep. You need to eat some good food. You need to chant more. You need to get out and take a walk. You need to wear sunglasses. You need whatever, you know? Beautiful gifts. Something came in the mail the other day. I didn't order it, but somebody ordered it for me and sent it anonymously because they know that this person is like my favorite designer. And so they sent me this wonderful, beautiful gift. And there's war. And there's children dying. And there's joy right next to sorrow. And there's dreams right next to devastation. And there's change. There's so much change. And what this tradition gives to us is the ability to bear witness to that change, no matter how simple and straightforward or complicated it is. It says, stay humble in who you are and how you walk upon this earth, because nothing is guaranteed to you except your ability to bear witness and your ability to have yet another experience of this life. So some people take that and they run with it and they say, they spiritually bypass with it. Not my problem. Not my circus, not my monkeys, you know what I mean? It's like people are going to do what people are going to do. And I know many, many people who spiritually bypass. They're like, you know, they avoid at all costs. And how can you avoid what is right in front of your face? You can't. You can't. People say, I don't like the statement that the universe never gives me anything I can't handle. And I don't like it either, but it's true. The universe is never going to give you something you can't handle. You will handle whatever the universe gives you. You will. You don't have a choice. You can sit down and not doing it. Stomp your feet. Not going to do it. That's a form of doing it. Right? That's a form of doing it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Okay, great, fine. It's totally understandable. But you're still doing it. You're going to handle whatever change comes your way. The question is, how are you going to handle it? Will you handle it with humility and gratitude, with a sense of sincere respect for life and for everything this life brings you? Will you learn how to have compassion for yourself throughout the changes that happen? Or will you not? And curse the process. Exploit the changes. Deny the purpose and the purposefulness of it. And that's your path. Whichever one of those you choose, whatever combination you choose, that's actually your path. So if you come forward in a moment of change and you're like, I ain't doing it, I don't want to do it, I'm going to deny it, that's your work. That's where you need to work. Where you find yourself is where your work is. You don't find yourself in a place absent a purpose. I know a lot of people say everything exactly as it's meant to be. And that pisses people off to no end, because people are like, well, how do you justify the social injustices of the world that way? You can't. But that's not what it means. What it means, what it's actually saying is there is no place, no moment, no circumstance, no condition in your life that you find yourself in that is without purpose. That purpose is always with you. And the change that comes forward in every moment brings it right in front of you. Makes it obvious to you. Says, hey, I'm right here. You don't have to go over there to find what you're looking for. You want some work to do. You want to feel strong and brave and courageous. You want to grow. You want to expand. You want to know yourself. I'm right here. Stop looking away. And what do? You go, what's over there? Maybe if I go climb Machu Picchu, I'll get all the things I want. No offense to anybody who's climbed Machu Picchu. I understand it's quite beautiful. But the whole point is, wherever you find yourself, that's where you are. That's where you are. That's where the work is. Whatever you come up against in yourself, whatever you come up with in yourself, whatever condition you find within yourself, that's your work. And I don't know, maybe that's a healthier way of saying, everything is exactly what it's meant to be. It's not because you deserve it. It's not because, other people aren't accountable for their BS. Of course people are accountable for the horrible things they do. They have to be accountable. But what that has to do with your ability to bear witness and to meet the condition you find yourself in with thoughtfulness, compassion, patience, and honesty, integrity, they have to be accountable. So do you. So do you. So do I. And in our own willingness to bear accountability for our own refusal to show up in a given moment out of discomfort, out of preference, because we're too busy pointing fingers at other people, we're going to have to adjust that. Because when we become capable of showing up, things change. Not necessarily because we showed up, although maybe in some part, but because they're always changing. When we show up, we put ourselves into a certain flow of change. It's like, why there's like hundreds of trees on the property now? Because we planted them. Had we not planted them, something would have grown there. Could have been a tree. Could have been a mile a minute weed. Could have been a thorny bush. Could have been anything, right? Could have been whatever. But we looked and we said, we're setting the intention for some fruit trees. We're setting the intention for some shade trees. We're setting the intention for a beautiful little birch tree. And we planted them. What are you planting? What are you planting in your life right now?
Getting back into the flow of how things have been for me in the past. Mm-hmm. Because I recently have gone through a little health situation myself with Lyme's disease. And I didn't realize how much it affected me over this period of time in every aspect of the physical body. But now it's clearing up everything.
Absolutely. And if you can avoid being happy it's cleared up, and instead be humbled by its presence, and also humbled by change, it will serve you well. What are you planting right now?
I like that, humbled by its presence. I'm planting a lot. Like the navigation part of it, the navigation part of healing.
Yeah.
In all aspects, physical. I started physically, of course. And then from there, it's like, oh my God, it takes you in so many different directions.
Yeah.
So compassion, for myself, and for others, because there's people who have mistreated throughout this navigation, and I was so proud that I was like usually on attack. I was like, right, I'm going somewhere else, So I guess compassion, just courage through it too.
Yeah. So learning how to navigate, deepening compassion, having courage. Strength.
Which I shouldn't say that, which I sometimes lack, but in other areas.
You see it differently now, though.
Yes, but I really do like what you said. Is like, instead of being happy, because I'm happy I'm healing. Hopefully it'll end.
Yeah.
But, I'm better. So I just feel like humble that it was there. Because it did teach me a lot. I was always busy. And I never slowed down. Not a minute. So I had to slow down. So it taught me how to slow down. And smell the roses more. So
it's another way to experience life.
And it's a completely different way. Completely for me.
Yeah.
Other people have done it, but not me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very good. Excellent. We've missed you. How about you? What are you planting?
When you asked that question, I was thinking about it, and witnessing and being present to everything that shows up. My part is I abandoned myself for a long time, so I'm trying to return this back to my body, myself. So witnessing it all, the ups and downs, whatever that shows up, and just being with it, and as fully as I can, and not trying to ignore it. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Just being present with all.
Yeah.
Witness. It really does give me a sense of like, hey, I see you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's really important, that witnessing, that cultivating the ability to witness. Because if there's one thing that every human being wants and needs psychologically, is to be seen. But we think we need to be seen by somebody else.
Yeah.
We need to be seen by ourselves. Yeah, absolutely. How about you? What are you planting?
I'm planting letting go of some fears. I was nominated to be on a local political committee, and I was really afraid to take any formal step. And I said yes. And so today I'm getting petitions signed to get on the ballot. And I'm scared, but also I just know it's time. So.
I will root you on. 100% I will root you on. Oh, we need so many good people. We need good people. I actually said to my daughter the other day, I'm thinking about it. Yeah. And then I said, no, I'm crazy.
There's so many ways.
Yeah.
involved.
There are so many ways to be involved, absolutely. And the work that I do is important, and I know that. But I've been asked about 5 times seriously in my life to run for office. And so I applaud you, because I think that now is so important. We need good people like you. So please let us know what we can do.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could probably sign a petition, right?
If you're in Coomer 6,
Oh,
well,
I'm not in
I have
Coomer
enough
6.
people, but thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So the topic of today's talk is change, and how we show up to that change, and what is it that the change is prompting from us, and how are we responding versus reacting. And so I share my personal part of my personal story with you, just to illustrate that every life has these ups and downs. Every life has these ins and outs. Every life has loss. Every life has gain. Every life has change. Change is natural. It's the one constant thing that happens. It's the one constant that we can rely upon. Nothing in this world is permanent. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, nothing is permanent. Nothing can be permanent, because the material world is meant for 3 stages: creativity or creation, maintenance, and destruction, or the end. So things begin, things are maintained for some period of time, and then things change. But they change during the maintenance too, don't they? They change because you were born, and for however old you are now, you've never been the same 2 moments in a row, 2 seconds in a row. You have always been changing, always. So change is our friend. It's our longtime friend. It's been our longest acquaintance that we've ever had. Change is our soulmate. Change is inherently and innately part of us. So instead of cursing it and trying to get rid of it and push it away, be a little humble to that relationship. And maybe it will open up a new vision of life for us. Maybe it will help us to see more clearly what our purpose is. Because Lord knows it puts it in our face often enough, It says, hey, I'm right here. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem, but I am also the solution. Just be with the change as best you can in every moment. And see what happens. Because the other thing that Krishna said to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita was, you have a right to the work only. You have no right to the outcome. The outcome is undefined. And I know that there's a life coach out there somewhere who will argue that with me until the cows come home. And I will still say, you have a right to the work only. You never have a right to the outcome. If the outcome comes out in your favor, yay for you. But that does not demean all the other people who did all the work, and the outcome was not what they expected. Because you can't choose the outcome. You can only step forward 1 foot at a time with the intention of doing what needs to be done, and in the highest possible intention. Let's sit tall, close the eyes. Draw the hands together in front of the heart. And together we'll lift our voices in one Om, followed by the All Beings mantra. Breathing in. Om. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Gently, keeping the eyes closed, resting the hands into the lap, we'll sit silently for a few moments. So the takeaway from today's talk, number 1, change happens all the time. Number 2, it's never solitary. It's always in pairs at least. And those pairs are usually opposites. Something easy, something difficult, something painful, something healing. Something we identify as good, something we identify as bad. Always with pairs. The third thing is we have a right to the work only and never to the outcome. The work is the point. And the work is learning how to be a witness to what is, so that it can constantly remind us of the work and of the purpose of this life, which is to show up to yourself in such a way that is not violent, that is compassionate, that is patient, and that has faith. Faith that purpose exists, that love is the all-powerful energy of this universe, and that ultimately unity is what is going to save us. And what I mean by save us is not fix this world, because I don't know that this world can be fixed. By save us, I mean allow us to take sanctuary within ourselves and with each other, so that we can be safe spaces for each other, no matter what is happening out there. May all the beings in the world find peace and rest, support and sanctuary, and may those beings who are bringing violence forward stop. May they be stopped in their tracks by the power of love and the power of purpose to correct themselves and to come to a place in their own lives where they do good in the world, where they bring good forward in the world. Thank you all for being here today. Enjoy the rest of your day.